Alrighty, hey everyone, and welcome to Lunch with Leaders by Junior Achievement. My name is Molly Edison, and I am your host and technical support for our meeting today. We are so excited to have you all here, and we are really looking forward to introducing our featured guest today, who is Travis Boersma, founder of Dutch Bros. Before we begin, I would love to take a quick moment and go over some of the features of Zoom. So please make sure your cameras are on if possible. We would definitely love to see all of your faces. All of the guest microphones have been muted, and we do ask that you keep your microphone muted unless instructed to do so. Please make sure that you turn your computer speakers on and you use headphones if you need to hear a little bit better. We also encourage you to use the chat box feature. So you can see that chat box on your screen. Please feel free to type in any questions that you have there or ask for any technical support that you might need. Note that in that chat box feature, anything you write will only be visible to Junior Achievement staff. So how about we start by typing into that chat box where you're tuning in from. We would love to hear what city you're watching in so that we can see where everyone's coming from. We also want to hear from you. So following the moderated discussion, we will have a question and answer portion. During the question and answer portion, please type into the chat feature any questions that you might want to ask Travis and hear his answer to. We'll do that after the moderated discussion. If this meeting is lagging for you or your connection is unstable, we do suggest that you close out any unnecessary programs on your computer, and that will help free up some bandwidth for this meeting. I'm reading in the chat here, we have people from Corvallis, Portland, Oregon City, Medford, Westland, Vancouver, Salem. We have a lot of people here tuning in. That's great to see. We have some people from Canby, Harrisburg. So thank you all so much for being here. Now, if you are just tuning in, this is Lunch with Leaders by Junior Achievement, today featuring Travis Boersma, co-founder and CEO of Dutch Bros Coffee. As you may be familiar, Junior Achievement of Oregon and Southwest Washington works in partnerships with schools to inspire and prepare young people for their future economic success. In partnership with education and business communities, we are energizing students around their future possibilities. Through integrated learning models focused on work readiness, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, we are empowering the next generation with the capacity and motivation to build a better future for themselves and for their community. We serve tens of thousands of K through 12 students every year through JA BizTown, our popular 5th grade program, JA Finance Park, our flagship financial literacy program, our in-class programs, and much more. So thank you again for joining us for Lunch with Leaders today. I am now excited to introduce our moderator, Maya Brazil. Maya went to St. Mary's Academy and was the 2019 Rose Festival Queen. Maya will be attending Westcliff University in Irvine, California next year, where she's going to be earning a degree in business administration. So hey Maya. Our guest speaker today, our featured guest, is Travis Boersma, and we'll be hearing from him soon. Now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Maya.
Thank you, Molly. Travis Boersma is the CEO and co-founder of Dutch Bros Coffee, the largest privately held drive-thru coffee company in the US. He is deeply involved in day-to-day operations, but also invested in maintaining the culture that he and his late brother, co-founder Dane, both worked hard to nurture. Established in 1992, the company has grown to more than 390 locations with 12,000 employees in 7 states. Hey, Trav, thank you so much for joining us today.
That's an honor to be here with everybody.
So why don't we just go ahead and jump in? Trav, you've accomplished a lot. Can you tell us how you got started in your career?
Well, I'd have to go all the way back to my 3rd grade year in elementary school, buying out all the pencils in the elementary school store. So, you know, that was my first step into business, and it was kind of a wild one, but in all seriousness with Dutch, we were 3rd generation dairy farmers. We ran into some issues with the Department of Environmental Quality coming in and imposing regulations that were new and different. And what seemed like something devastating at the time turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I believe wholeheartedly, like if you have a problem or a challenge, kind of like what we're going through right now, something that may be out of your control, the objective, for us at that time, for Dane and I, was really just to find the seedling of the equivalent advantage and take and convert lemons to lemonade. That was the very beginning of Dutch, and that's how it was born, out of a problem.
Very cool. So what does the day in the life of Trav look like? What do you do for work now? Tell us about your current job and how you do that work.
Well, day in and day out, my love is seeing our people grow and really develop into the people that they want to be. So, I cast a vision. I'm so compelled to just share with everybody what a compelling future can look like and how they can challenge themselves and stretching themselves to grow and to develop skills and strengths that they may already actually have. And when they align that with passion, where that can take them is kind of a euphoric place for me to watch. That's to me where the lion's share of my focus, time and energy is placed in the human behavioral characteristics of the organization and making sure that we provide great opportunities within the organization, maybe even most importantly outside the organization with community. So, I've kind of done everything there is to do within Dutch Bros' four walls. And my challenge now is how to really take that out in the community in so many different ways. But I'm engaged and involved in everything soup to nuts.
Awesome. Trav, tell us, what do you love most about your work?
Well, I think the thing that I love most about Dutch is the people element. It's really seeing people persevere through their own challenges, really showcase well, ascend, if you will, while they're with Dutch. I think in so many ways it's a part-time job, but you learn teamwork, communication skills, and really interact with so many different walks of life. And I think it really serves people in their quest of where they're going, what they're doing, and why they want to do it. So it's a stepping stone, and that's probably my favorite part of the organization is how people develop into the better version of themselves that they want to be.
That's great. Trav, what does your day-to-day work consist of? What do you do in the everyday life of Trav? Can you give us insight on that?
Well, I'm a variety junkie. I'm not a routine guy. So, I try to participate in problem solving. I think 90% of the focus should be on solution rather than the problem itself. Once you identify a problem, I think then take your focus to solution and what I call, is with meetings is having therapy sessions with people. Sometimes I'm the therapist and more often than not, I'm the one receiving the therapy, but it's collaborative leadership. And I think as we collaborate together and we have mastermind groups, if you will, and we're focused on solutions to problems, then we can get to where we need to be much quicker. I really value the problems and challenges that we encounter because there are opportunities for us to learn and grow. And I think that getting our organization in a place where that's our mindset collectively as a group is helpful in living a quality life.
Awesome. Trav, can you share with us the inspiration for the idea behind Dutch Bros?
Well, back when I was in my teenage years, I'd visit with my bro. He'd be milking cows and I'd go down and we'd literally just talk about life, day in, day out. Sometimes it'd be with this exploration of what I could do, where I could go, what the future would look like, ranging from being a nutritionalist and going to get my degree and coming back to help out on the dairy farm, or opening my own business, or getting a job at a bank. I mean, it was a wide pendulum of ideas, but the thing that occurred when Dutch was prior to Dutch being born is, we had the final nail in the coffin, as I'd coin it, and we needed to make a transition. And my brother Dane didn't know what he was going to do, and I certainly didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to do something extraordinary. I knew that I was driven and motivated to prove that we could do something pretty magical. And Dane, he had 3 kids at the time, different place in life. He was 38, I was 21. He needed to provide for his family. I had a couple college roommates. We all shared in the rent, so it was pretty easy for me to pay bills, no dependents. Dane looked at me, dead serious, stone cold face, said, I think I'm just going to go get a job at Walmart or Fred Meyer or something. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, dude, why don't we do one of these business adventures we've talked about all these years? Why not get into the coffee game? Why not espresso? We could do like an espresso cart. And he didn't even know what espresso was when I brought it up. He was kind of like, espresso? Like, what is it? And I'm like, well, it's like a really short, powerful concoction of coffee, and it's got a layer of crema on the top of it, man. And you get that, dude, in a mocha, it's killer. And he went to the local restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant at the time called Bistro. Noticed they had on the menu, and he ordered one up at the end of his meal, and they brought it out, that short Demetasi cup, the little tiny handle, porcelain, had the layer of crema on it, the whole nine. And he took a nip of that, and he just was like, dude, my brother's lost his mind. I mean, this rock cooked. College has taken its toll. The partying has gotten to him. And he came home and he goes, nobody's going to buy that, dude. I don't even know what planet you're on, but you need to go back to Earth. And so I said, well, get in the car, man. I want to take you down. There was this little old lady named Bonnie, and she's kind of oaky, hippie-ish. She wore no shoes. She was barefoot, big, bright smile. She had the sparkle in her eye, and she'd always carry on conversation with me. And I was going through and getting vanilla lattes from her. So I pulled into Western Espresso with an X, and Bonnie said, hey, Trav, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm good, Bonnie. I said, I'll take 2 today, though. And she said, okay. And she kind of did her thing, and she made it all happen, got the steam one rolling, steamed up the first one, poured it, handed it over to me. I handed it to Dane. And while she finished up with mine, I did our exchange, and I looked over, and Dane had the lid off of his cup, and he was licking the milk foam. Dude, this is amazing. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, bro.
It's like, that's how you do it. We're gonna.
So that's how it was born. I mean, it really was born in just the idea stage, and then the pursuit of us driving hard. I mean, he picked up a Tony Robbins book. I think it was Tony's first book, Unlimited Power Within. And in that book, there was a goal setting workshop that we did, 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20-year goals that were limitless. And, you just kind of, it was like taking and writing down an inventory of your dreams. Anything you could think of without limitation, just go, 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 go. And I mean, literally after sitting down for probably an hour on the floor of his mobile home, going through this exercise with him, then we started to rank them, and you put a year next to them, like 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 year timetables of when you think you could accomplish these crazy, wild goals that seemed ludicrous at the time, honestly. And then, there was this other piece to the book that I think was so important, and it was a 4-step process. It was, number 1, know your specific outcome and be really, really specific about it. 2 was take massive action toward the specific outcome that you've laid out in front of you. 3 was ask yourself if the action you're taking is working. And the 4th one was if it's not, change it until it does. And it was just put it on repeat. And we still use that today, man. I mean, the ultimate success formula, it just rips. And I got to tell you, he had such great wisdom. I had no idea, I was going into business with my brother. We were going to be business partners. He's my best friend, but I had little idea at that time. He was really my mentor and my role model, and somebody that never preached, never told me anything on how to do what I did, but always encouraged and asked great questions. And I think the quality of the questions you ask in your life have everything to do with the quality of life that you get to lead.
That's really special. Thank you, Trav. You all at Dutch just had a very special day. Your annual Drink One for Dane event happened last week. Can you tell us about that event and how did it go this year?
Well, this year obviously is kind of a unique time period that we're living in, and I don't expect the numbers to be as strong as years prior, but it's a great day for us to kind of almost come back together and really champion toward a cause that I hope we see happen one day with a cure, maybe even known cause. But there's very little known about the disease with ALS, and it's our way of giving back. We've generated over $10 million from the very beginning of Drink One for Dane to just this last Friday. So I think our numbers were like 1.3 and change the last 2 years. So we'll see what we do, but it's a great day for us to all come together and put some light on what people go through in that space, and it's horrific for the people, the families that go through it, because it's a degenerative disease where you lose your muscles in the use of your muscles over time. You lose your speech and you're trapped in your body, and your mind is still sound, but you just deteriorate over time, and it's rough, man. I went through it with my bro, and I certainly am a better man for going through it with him, and became closer to God in that time. So it was super impactful in my life, and I don't wish it upon anyone.
Absolutely. I can imagine running your own business and being the CEO of such a thriving company can have its challenges. So, Trav, would you share with us what are some of the hardships you faced, and what did it take to overcome those obstacles?
Well, there was nothing harder that I've went through than my brother's illness. He I think kind of really detected, or was on the infancy maybe of detection in 2004 and passed in 2009. And I learned that God gives us a path that we get to navigate. And these problems and challenges that are coming all of our ways, they come in different shapes and sizes, and we don't get to anticipate what they really look like. But you can prepare for problems and challenges. I promise you, they're all coming, and they come to everyone. No one escapes this life without them. I kind of use this metaphor: life's like a river, and it has a destination. The river's destination is the ocean, and it has its twists and turns. Sometimes it's shallow, sometimes it's deep, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. You can really encounter a lot of different things in your quest. But, if you can navigate your path down the river, if you can be mindful and use the tools and resources that we've been blessed enough to have in this life, it can be easier to navigate. The struggle is going to be there for all of us, so there's times where maybe you'll even get caught up into like a whirlpool or an eddy. And if anybody's a whitewater fan out there and you've rafted, you know what I'm talking about, or a kayaker, where you may have a back current in an eddy, and that can be a lot of fun, and it could be, great for a little while, but if you're not careful, you can get stuck into it, and it can be dangerous. And I think life is full of temptation. We can get stuck in different things in different times with a way that maybe doesn't serve us. It might have started out as fun, and then it's starting to work against us, and it can become tiring and monotonous. I'll tell you, there's no better thing than to dig in and get yourself out of the eddy, get out of the hole. There's only one way to get out of the hole. It's to stop digging. So I really believe that we never arrive in this life until we depart. And that's when you're free. I believe that, you know, how you navigate it, you get to choose. I think God has a plan for us all, but it's up to us to navigate that plan. And if you work against it, you can choose to swim upriver against the current. You'll just exhaust yourself. It'll be a rough life. But if you are able to navigate it, you can really enjoy it. You can go through the riffles, you can go through the rapids, you can anticipate falls that may be ahead and get out and walk around the falls. You know, if you really are mindful about it, it can be this great adventure, this great journey. And I hope that I'm living proof that you can find a way to take problems, challenges, find a seedling of the equivalent advantage and apply it. And I think application's everything here, man. If you get too caught up in knowledge being the only thing, then application gets left behind. And I think while knowledge is power, application's everything. So, you know, knowing that you never arrive until you depart, you see it all around us with the people that think they made it. You know, whether you're a rock band or a famous person that maybe you're an athlete or an actor, or we've all seen them, you know, they get to a place in their life and they think, man, they made it. And then there's only to descend after that. But the ones that are extraordinary, they kind of like just continue to challenge themselves and dig down deep and keep working on their craft to be the best they can be. And I think that's where this life is so fruitful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Shedding light and moving our questions in a different direction. Can you explain to us what your education path looked like? Did your education guide you to your career that you're currently in, or did things shift along the way?
Well, let me tell you, man, failed hard. I've failed hard and I've failed fast. And I'm standing on a mountain of failure, you know, so I look at failure as simple opportunities to learn and grow. That's all it is, mistakes. You know, you got to be willing to make mistakes. I think the hard lessons in this life that we get help us with growth and application on how to go. Nobody, you know, when we're brought into this life, we all walk, right? I mean, unless you physically are unable to walk, you figure out a way. And it isn't like we picked up a book and we read the instructions and then we took steps and we were worried that we'd fall down and we had guardrails. We just were like, man, somehow, some way, maybe it was with a little bit of assistance, but somebody maybe just did one of these and we, you know, kind of stumped, and then boom, man, you fell down. And, you know, if you're like me, you hit your head really hard several times and it took longer. And, you know, if I was like you, Maya, I'm sure you probably were like elegant. You just like took off and it was like a breeze. But you might like kind of fell down one time, maybe bumped your hip or something, right? And then just kind of got back up. But we all learn how to walk. And there, you know, it's the same thing. You learn by your trials, your errors, and you figure out a way to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And I think that's the piece here. Yeah, education. I could have done much better in school for sure. I don't know that I applied myself like a lot of people have, and I wish that I would have in certain areas. But I'm proud to say that I was, well, at the time I was there at Southern Oregon State College, and I'm dropout alumni there at 2 years. But you know what, the lessons and the learning, that's what it's all about in this life. And you can do that in so many different ways. You can go out on the streets and it's tough. You can go in the classroom, it's tough. The pendulum is wide, but it's a big deal to have a mindset to want to learn and grow and develop. And I think we might have lost Maya. Dang it.
I'm back. I did disappear for a second though.
Okay.
Can you all can hear me?
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
we can hear you, Maya.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry about that. I definitely vanished for a little bit of time.
Oh, no.
Why don't we hop back into this? Trav, can you tell us something about your career path that might surprise the listeners? For example, a change in job or an unusual job responsibility.
Boy, let me see here. I think one of the things that people would probably think, Dutch Bros just happened, and it was this amazing thing, and it's like anything that I've touched turns to gold. And I can't tell you that that's so far from the truth. It's the chat. I think that ultimate success formula in the early days, we had 5 push carts at one time, and we had the wisdom and the wherewithal to dig down deep and change our approach, find our niche through a lot of effort and hard work to create our own environment around us. And I think that constant working, demanding more of yourself than anyone else could ever imagine, the pitfalls and the challenges with the things that we encountered that could have taken us out, but having the resiliency to really just dig down deep and persevere and take the whooping, man, that you had to take when you took it. And it was tough. Gosh, we had a fire in 2004 and we lost everything. It could have been the end, but I looked at it as the beginning. Mindset is a big deal. And I think when you are driven and motivated to do whatever it takes, and if that's not good enough, then give a little bit more. That was something that I think Dane and I both shared together, is this determination and will to win and compete and not let circumstances take us out. I've always believed like you can adapt to the changes that happen around you, and that's what we should try to do our best to do, is to adapt to changes, because change is constant and it's never ending, and it's going to continue.
Absolutely. Trav, would you share with us, tell us about someone in your life that inspired you?
That fired me.
No, inspired.
No. Oh, inspired me. Well, I was going to say, when you said fired, I was like, dang, I haven't been fired. I almost fired myself once.
I was going to say, have you ever fired yourself?
But the closest person to be my wife, probably, I really believe this, man. Success is not owned, it's rented, and the rent's due every day. And one thing that for everybody out there with your significant other, you may earn some points and do some great things, but they evaporate at midnight. And you got to start over the next day. And you got to go back to earning it the old-fashioned way. And so if you want lasting relationships, if you want, the best of the best, then you got to be willing to put the time in and earn it day by day over time with decisions that you make that have everything to do with unshakable happiness or unsalvageable misery, for that matter. Nobody hits a light switch and becomes an alcoholic. It takes time, and you earn it, man, through your choices. Or you want to be unbelievably fit, or you want to be unbelievably financially free, you want passionate relationships. It's the day by day, it's the little things that add up over time that get you there. As far as somebody that's inspired me, man, there's a lot. I kind of, I really think Jim Collins, with the books that he's written. I think that the band U2 and Bono, when I think about music, I'm a huge fan of rock and roll, and I think about the Beatles, and I think about Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and Dave Grohl today, man. I'm looking at, I don't know if anybody saw this man, but Post Malone doing Nirvana covers with Travis Barker on drums. Sick, stupid great. Check it out. It's a big fundraiser that he did for everybody on the front lines. Last time I checked, it was over $9 million that he had raised. But I look for inspiration in people that are extraordinary, that are great. I think success leaves clues.
Hmm. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh man, best piece of advice I've ever received. Well, I think that one of the greatest pieces of advice that I've ever received, I'll share a couple. One, I think in so many ways, I was so driven and motivated that I was willing to do whatever it took at my own expense sometimes. And so one piece of advice that I had to apply in my life that took me and I still have to do this is, if you give an honest effort, it's more than good enough. But what is that honest effort? Mm-hmm. And being mindful of going too far, but making sure that you gave everything you had. That's a fine line. Another one is one of my favorite experiences with a customer when I was in my young 20s. A lady by the name of Penny would come by, and I kept her mug underneath the counter because she had arthritis real bad, and it had handles on it. And she'd hold her mug like this and would sip her cappuccino that I made her. And she'd tip me a granola bar every day. I had 50 granola bars, I remember at one time. And I'd be like, hey, Penny, please, I don't need another granola bar. And she'd go, honey, those granola bars are not for you. Those granola bars are for you to pay forward to other people that need them. And I'm like, okay, I got it. That's cool. And one day I was having a conversation with her. I said, hey, so, Penny, what are you up to today? And she had this big button on her chest and it said, glad to see you, and always this positive mindset and smile. And she goes, oh, I went to church. And I was like, oh, well, what church do you go to? And she goes, well, I just went to the one down the way here. She goes, oh, hell. She says, what does it matter? There's only one God anyway. And I was like, you know what? That was great for me, because I think we get so carried away in this world of opinions and our perspectives and our beliefs and who's right, who's wrong, and all this political warfare and this fight over religion and all that. And if we break it down at the end of the day, man, love reigns. Love reigns. Love, God, done.
Nice and simple. Follow-up question, because I'm interested. Penny wouldn't be the inspiration for those granola bars you sell now, because those are my absolute favorite.
I'll tell you what, man, she was an inspiration for a lot of different things that I think I incorporated in my life. And, I think mostly probably just to give back to the community programs that we do, because she had this big heart, man. And she paid it forward with smiles. She paid it forward with smiles every single day. She didn't have a lot to give, but what she did was more than what most had. The smiles, man, they just rained down on people and they lifted people up. So, that probably to me is the greatest gift that she ever gave.
Awesome. Trav, wrapping up on our last question, final question. What is something you wish you could tell yourself when you were younger?
Man, I think one of the things that I still try to do is I try to make, when it comes down to difficult decisions, I try to look out, say 5 years, and I say, man, 5 years from now, would I thank myself for making this decision or not? I think a lot of times we can be in a moment and we can fall victim to the circumstance that we're in and make decisions that may work against us, thinking that they work for us. And if I just took a step back as my younger version of myself and I asked that question, 5 years from now, are you going to be thankful that you made the decision that you made right here and now? I think it could help. However, all those failures, all those mistakes, they serve if you can apply it, channel it in the right way. So, I don't have any regrets. I think my younger version of myself, I'd probably laugh at and maybe just watch and observe.
All right, well, thank you so much to Maya and Travis for sharing. We are going to transition at this time to our question and answer portion. So students that are listening, logging in, if you want to go ahead and open up that chat feature and type in any questions that you have for Travis that you'd love to hear his answers to. While you guys are typing, I'm going to start by asking a question from one of our listeners. Laura Lynn Jensen put in the chat, I love Dutch Bros. Everyone is so happy and friendly. Every time I drive through Dutch Bros, it brightens my whole day. So I'm so grateful for that. I asked this question because you were just talking about the whole positive attitude thing that you want to embody. So Trav, could you speak a little bit to the culture and positive attitude that you are trying to maintain and that you guys do such a good job at?
Yeah, sure. So I think for everybody who's listening today and watching via Zoom, there's no one that you're going to have a conversation with more in your life than yourself. And so ask yourself this question: are you having a positive conversation or a negative conversation with yourself? And if you are having a negative conversation, what are some of the questions that you ask yourself? Because if you shape your questions in a different way, and it could be one word from, why didn't I get selected for the job that I applied for? There's negative answers to that question. But if you said, how could I get selected? Or what could I do? All of a sudden there's positive answers to maybe improve. And maybe it won't be this job, maybe it's the next job. But the quality of the question shifting from why, kind of a victim mentality, to how or what, just one word can shape how you go forward in your life with the conversations that you're having and the questions that you're asking. And there's a book called QBQ, The Question Behind the Question, that I would recommend everybody, that I think is an absolute game changer. And I've utilized it in my life. And it's hard to practice good questions and good combos with yourself, but we become habitual, and oftentimes we're telling ourselves a bullshit story that isn't even true.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Another question that we have that's along those same lines from Addison, who is watching right now. She was wondering, did you ever feel like you hit rock bottom? Did you ever feel like giving up? Were you ever afraid to fail?
Absolutely. I think that, those things kind of still occur. And then when they do, I wrote a mission statement for myself. And that's something that I lean on today in times of duress or struggle or challenge, or maybe even celebratory times. But I'll share it with everyone. It's, I, Travis Boersma, see, hear, know that the purpose of my life is to maximize the moment, to enjoy the journey, to be a loving, passionate, inspirational leader that defies the odds, to be a force for God and a force for good. And I hope to mean the man that I am someday when I die, not the man that I could have been.
Oh yeah, thank you, Travis. We're getting this question from a lot of people watching, so I think we definitely need to answer this one. How do you guys come up with the names for the drinks at Dutch Bros, and what is your favorite Dutch Bros drink?
Oh my gosh. Well, the pendulum's been wide as far as involvement on names of drinks. A lot of our own people have come up with some of the names. Our full secret menu has been something that we embraced a couple years back, 3 or 4 years back. And a lot of creative names came out of that secret menu with customers and broistas company-wide. So I think that, in the early days of Dutch, the classic menu kind of names, both Dan and I came up with the names, and it was simple, but as things have gone on, we've involved a lot of people, and collaborating with all of our people is important to me. And the second part of the question was what?
What's your favorite Dutch Bros drink?
My favorite all time is an iced old school vanilla mocha. And it's bomb, man. But today I enjoy a toasted cold brew every morning.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you, Travis. Thank you all so much for attending Junior Achievement's Lunch with Leaders featuring Travis Boersma. Trav, it was so great to hear your story. I know I learned a lot, and I would guess everyone who was listening did as well. Could everyone listening please join me in saying thank you to Travis with an American Sign Language round of applause. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. We are so glad to have you. Tune in at the same time next week for another edition of Lunch with Leaders.
Thank you so much to everyone for being here, and a big thank you to Travis for joining us. Thank you, everyone.